in navigating through the blessed life of the master of the ladies of the universe, Lady Fatima Zahra, the beloved daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where we're going to learn about her life, her contribution, her sacrifice, and her legacy. So please, let's meet every night throughout the holy month of Ramadan and learn from the beautiful life of Lady Fatima alayhi salam. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. My brothers and sisters in faith, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So after the night of the wedding of Fatima, peace be upon her, apparently she stayed in the room of Salama that night, the night of the wedding. And then Imam Ali had found a place, he rented a place which wasn't very close to the mosque of the Prophet. And since the Prophet wanted to be in a close proximity with his daughter Fatima, he wanted to see her every day. She's part of his life. He spoke to a landlord, one of his companions, by the name of Haritha ibn Nu'man. Apparently this man owned many properties near the mosque of the Prophet. But the Prophet was too shy to ask him, because he had asked him in the past for some space. And this time he was a little embarrassed to ask him again. The Prophet says, Haritha has given us in the past, حتى أنني استحييت منه. Now I am too shy to ask him again. But then the news reached this man, this noble man, generous man, that the Prophet is in need for space for his daughter Fatima and son-in-law Ali. So he came to the Prophet, he said, Ya Rasulullah, all these properties are yours. وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا وَمَالِي لِلَّهِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ. Look at someone with the principles. Look at someone with the true love for the Prophet and for God. He says, me and my property, me and whatever I own is for God and His Apostle. Ya Rasulullah, the property that you take from me, you would make me much more happier than not taking it, than leaving it with me. So I really want you to take whatever you need, whatever you want. You are doing me a favor. You are making me happy. The Prophet answered him, Sadaqt. You are truthful. Sadaqt. Barakallahu alayk. May God bless your life. And here Fatima alayhi salam with Imam Ali moved to the property of Haritha ibn Nu'man, which was very close to the house of the Prophet. And later on, of course, the Prophet himself built a room for Fatima and Ali inside the mosque, next to his own room. Fatima was a very accommodating wife, a very understanding wife, a very patient wife. Fatima was not attached to the dunya. Fatima was not created to be enchanted with this life. Fatima was made for the Akhirah, and this is exactly what her father, the noble Prophet, said in numerous occasions. ما لآل محمد والدنيا فإنهم قد خلقوا للآخرة. What the family of the Prophet of Muhammad has to do with this life. They've been created for the hereafter. That is the real abode. That is the real aspiration, to reach the Akhirah. But of course we have to go through this life. This life is a path, is a gateway to the Akhirah. We cannot reach the Akhirah unless we come through this life, unless we are put to test, unless we go through trials and tribulations. So we have to come through this life. Some people misunderstand why we are here. They think we are here because of this life. We are not here because of this life. We are here because another life, because of another life, because of the hereafter. We are here temporarily. We are here for a test. We are here, as Imam Ali himself says, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ عَدَدُ أَيَّامٍ, for a number of days. Therefore, Fatima realized that, one, she is the daughter of the leader, the Prophet, universal Prophet. Second, she is the wife of the first lieutenant to this Prophet, the first aide to this Prophet. She is the wife of the successor of the Prophet, the defense minister of Islam, the warrior, the commander of the faithfuls, the one that has to carry his sword all the time to protect Islam from aggression, from enemies, from hypocrites, from those who want to harm the Prophet and his community and his religion. So he was always on guard. So she realized that she is marrying a person who is always on call. He has to go left and right. A man who has been dispatched by the Prophet every single day for a mission, for a military excursion, or he would send him somewhere else, a problem solver. And the Prophet depended on him. So she realized that she's not going to have an easy time. But yet she's going to be comfortable with Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yet she's going to enjoy her life with him. So she lived up to that responsibility. She was prepared for that responsibility. And therefore, my friends, someone who marries a universal leader, someone who marries a local leader, a religious leader, a moral leader, a community leader, has to be prepared. She has to share that message with him. She is his companion, his friend. She cannot have different goals, different aspirations. They have to be on the same page. They have to be together in their mind, in their heart, in their brain, in their souls. They have to be together. They cannot be separated. One cannot be in one valley and his spouse in another valley. That does not work. Fatima alayhi salam realized that she has to be in the same front with Ali ibn Abi Talib, at the same front. She has to be together. She has to be a support for Ali. 24/7 she's there for him. Ali was super busy. Ali never relaxed a single day. Ali was working hard. Ali puts his life on the line. Ali put his soul at risk. Ali was there for the Prophet, available at his service. The Prophet was very busy too, so he needed help. He needed people with him. Islam was in the beginning. Islam was crawling at that time. Islam was growing. And Islam needed people who only look up to God. Only give their life for the sake of God. وكأي من نبي قاتل معه ربيون كثير فما وهنوا لما أصابهم في سبيل الله وما ضعفوا وما استكانوا والله يحب الصابرين. How oftentimes a prophet had loyal friends, loyal companions, loyal family members who were not weakened, who were not intimidated, who were not shaken. They forged forward. They moved forward. They stood their grounds. They were steadfast. They persevered. فَمَا وَهَنُوا لِمَا أَصَابَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Feebleness does not overtake them because they know they are working for God. And if something happens to them, that is their ultimate goal. Because God says again in his book, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. And God says in the same book, من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. Those are men who already gave their souls for the sake of God. They made a deal. They signed a contract, a covenant with God, that we give you our wealth, our entire being, our souls, our blood, in return for what? In return. That was the deal, a perfect deal. Fatima alayhi salam knew all about this, and she was well prepared for it. She was not consumed. Fatima was not a person who had nothing but this dunya, but to go shopping, but to purchase this item and that item, but to decorate her house with gold and silver, but to change the entire furniture every year. She was not about that. Fatima was not enchanted by a purse or a bag or shoes or a dress or a gown. Fatima was enchanted by the Quran, by her father, by her husband, by her Lord. Fatima is someone that God says, listen people, whatever Fatima likes, I like. Whatever she hates, I hate. Whatever makes her happy makes me happy. Whatever makes her angry makes me angry. This is Fatima. Fatima was different. Fatima cannot be compared to such and such and such of women. She cannot be compared. Ahlulbayt altogether. The Prophet himself, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, it's wrong. It's wrong for Muslims and non-Muslims to compare them to ordinary people. Those are specials. Those are unique. Those have been chosen by God. Inna Allah astafa. God has chosen them. So Fatima was not a type of lady who becomes consumed with her material life. Fatima would never think about the food that they eat tomorrow or the dress she puts on. She was not about that. Fatima, what consumed her mind, occupied her mind, is how to defend my father, the Prophet, how to protect him, how to make him going, how to infuse my husband with inspiration, with love, with care, with affection, so he's always healthy. how to take care of Zainab and Kulthum, Hassan and Hussein, and prepare them for tomorrow, because they have an important task ahead of them. They are leaders. Zainab has to go through a lot tomorrow. Kulthum, her sister, has to go through a lot. Hassan and Hussein are going to suffer a lot. How should I prepare them, strengthen them, vaccinate them against weakness and feebleness? That is what preoccupied her mind. Fatima was ready for that. And therefore those who marry leaders have to be compatible with them, have to be prepared, have to be on guard all the times. Stand by, on a standby, because they know the future is not easy. They know they are embarking on a very tumultuous, very challenging, very difficult mission, but yet when they have faith in God, they're going to be satisfied. They are not going to be sad. They are not going to regret their life, because they know they are always in God's obedience, fi ta'atillah. And that's what makes you happy. And that what brings you real happiness and real stability and real content, qana'ah, is when you spend your life in the service of God, in obedience to God. You are doing the right thing. You are moving slowly but surely, moving towards your target, your goal, your end. You are fulfilling this journey in this life. In this life, my friends, we have two types of people. People who choose desires over everything else, and people who choose principles and values over everything else. And both cling to their goals, both of them. And both of them fight forcefully to maintain their interest. Those who fight for their whims and desires, and those who fight for their principles and values. But Islam tells us always that you have to sacrifice for values, for mabda', for your principles. Because this is the challenge in this life. This is the test. This is why we are here. If you ask why we are here to put values and principles before interests, before whims, before our narrow desires. This is our mission. This is why we are here. Look at what happened in the beginning of this creation. God said to Adam, Adam, enjoy this paradise, but be careful of your desires. Your desires are going to tell you, leave 99.9% of this paradise and come and approach this tree. Be careful. فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَ الشَّيْطَانِ. Unfortunately, Satan whispered into their ears and minds. And he made them leave 99.9% of the trees and the fruits in paradise. And they came to this single tree. One tree. God says this is forbidden. This was a test. This was a test. They failed the test. وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَى. He disobeyed the order. He slipped a little bit. But then he recovered immediately. And God is giving us this parable in the Quran to say to us that, O mankind, you are the children of Adam. You may slip too. But if you slip, you have to recover immediately. Be careful. Don't be driven away, blown away by this slippery slope. You have to recover immediately. And Adam and Eve both recovered. And God forgave them. God gave them another opportunity. Some of us fail in this test. How do we fail? Because we forget why we are here. This is why it's important, my friends, that we remind ourselves every single morning. We need a reminder. كَلَّا إِنَّهَا تَذْكِرَةٌ فَمَنْ شَاءَ ذَكَرَهُ. It's a reminder. The entire Quran, God says about this book, the Holy Quran, it's a reminder. Reminding you. Reminding you. Don't you set your alarm to remind you that this time I have to wake up, this time I have to take my medicine, this time I have to do my homework, this time I have to call my friend. So we have to set the alarm every single morning and ask ourselves why we are here. Are we here to follow our whims and desires only and forget about principles and values and duties and responsibilities? And we become like animals. Animals. Many people lead lives of animals. They get naked. They think only about their food and drink, only about their entertainment, only about their fun, only how to jump up and down, only about partying, only about drinking, and nothing else after that. We have values and principles. Fatima was compatible with Ali. She matched Ali. Fatima was ready for that mission. Imagine if Fatima was sitting there and nagging, constantly nagging and complaining. Could have Ali achieved his goals? Would he be able to go to the front lines and fight and defend? He wouldn't. God said to the wives of the Prophet, this is in chapter 33, يا نساء النبي إن كنتن تردن الحياة الدنيا وزينتها فتعالين أمتعكن وأسرحكن سراحا جميلا. If you want to think in terms of your whims and desires and materialism, and you overburden your husband, the Prophet, who is a universal messenger, people are waiting for his guidance. He has a big responsibility. If you want to keep him preoccupied with your lower needs, with your desires, to satisfy your desires, then please don't stay with the Prophet. God is saying this in chapter 33. فَتَعَالَيْنَ أُمَتِّعْكُنَّ, I'll give you your dowry, and I release you with a good release. صَرَاحًا جَمِيلًا. But if you are ready for this mission, you are ready for it, and you would continue with the Prophet, and you would bear the hardships, and you don't complain. Not only you don't complain, you refresh the heart of the Prophet. You comfort the Prophet. If you see him tired or sad or exhausted, you rush to him. Tell him, I give you support, I give you love. You embrace the Prophet. Even if you are hungry, keep your hunger away from him. Don't tell him about that. And this is what exactly Fatima did, as we're going to see. How oftentimes Fatima was hungry and she was trembling. And the Prophet comes, and when he sees her eyes are sunken, the stomach is sunk, and she's shivering, he realized that she did not have food for that day, or for 2 days, or for 3 days. She would not complain, because she knew that complaining would not solve the problem. She must always put up a brave face, strong face, because her leader is already, he has tons and tons of problems on his shoulder. So God said to the wives of the Prophet, don't complain. You have to be of help to the Prophet not a burden. How oftentimes I see great leaders, they don't have the right wives, unfortunately. And how oftentimes I see great female leaders, wives, who do not have the right husbands. They are not compatible with them. They are not supportive. We learn a lesson from Ali and Fatima, that the husband and the wife have to integrate each other, support each other, stand with each other. That is the most tasty and delicious thing in your marital life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.